Welcome to the Lazy Money Machine, where we show you the easy, no-nonsense way to financial and time freedom. Here are your hosts, Graham Brown and Eric Tenhaver.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Lazy Money people. We bring you a special today from Fukuoka, Japan. Tom Southerton.
Hello.
Graham Brown. We are here in a dance studio. Thanks to Tom. Thanks for sourcing. Yeah. This is our sponsor for today, Dance Studio, where they do all kinds of different music and some in the background as well. Yeah. But Tom was going to play some music to kick us off, but the Bontempi organ's down there and it's not plugged in. So we're going to talk about property.
Yeah. And
maybe we can wrap over the music in the background. Property, investing, and location-independent business.
Yes.
So you live in Hiroshima.
Yeah, and Fukuoka.
And Fukuoka. So you live between two cities.
Yeah.
And I live in Tokyo. We're both from the UK originally.
Mm-hmm.
We're both into property.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about why we're into property and the kind of properties we're into as well, because there's a lot changing as well. It's not just about being in property now. There's a lot of things going on like Airbnb.
Yeah.
And auctions and UK property, Japanese property. So where should we start? Should we talk about property first?
Okay.
Yeah.
What about why you're in town? You're in Fukuoka now, so why are you here? So,
this is my third visit to Fukuoka. Let me just angle the mic a little bit here. And now here's the interesting thing. I'm a fundamentals guy when it comes to investing. So we talked about Bitcoin off air as an example. Yeah. It's like, it's okay, but I don't think it's a long-term investment strategy. And fundamentals is like the basic stuff. In Japan, for example, like the population's a real issue, isn't it? It's like, I don't know how it is in Hiroshima, but
it's not as good for Fukuoka. I wouldn't buy property in Hiroshima.
Right, because the population's going down, right?
Right.
So that's what we mean by fundamentals. So in Fukuoka, there's only two cities in Japan where the population is predicted to grow over the next 20 years, and that's Tokyo and Fukuoka.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, the population's doomed. And it really is doomed, right? We're talking millions of people disappearing out of the market. Yeah. 30 million, right? Yeah. So the population is going to go from 127 million today to below 100 million by 2050, right? That's the predictions.
Yeah.
So what does that do to the property market? Well, if you're in a market where suddenly there's a lot less people to rent, that's a big deal, right? Prices go down, supply.
You can't sell it even if you want out.
Exactly. Yeah. And the kind of people who are renting are getting older and older, right? So it's not the kind of professional market. Right? So I'm here in Fukuoka to check out properties, right? And you can buy. So here's the thing. You can buy a property in Fukuoka for a one bed for what? 6 million? No, not cheap.
That's cheap.
So I got my numbers wrong. $60,000, right?
Oh, yeah.
$60,000, right?
Yeah.
£40,000. 6 million yen.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
You can even get them for less. 4,000 for extra property in less than 5 with your buying costs. That kind of as cheap as you'll get.
50,000, 4,000. Oh, 4 million.
4 million, that's right, millions.
Right.
I've threw in big Japanese numbers, all these millions and zeros.
You're doing tens of thousands, right?
Yeah. So
you can buy a place for 40, 50, 60,000 and you can get 7 or 8% yield on that?
Yeah, 7 is pretty realistic. Not so much 8, but 6 or 7 is there.
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing that interests me about Fukuoka is there's a growing foreigner market, right?
Yeah.
They've got the startup visa here, which we've both looked at, right? That startup fund. There's a lot of foreigners coming to Fukuoka and setting up here. So they're going to need houses, and they're going to need a special type of house, which is, aimed at young professionals, probably quite high quality compared to, the standard Japanese rents, right? So there's a market there, and it's a growing market. So that's why I'm here. I'm really curious to see what the opportunities are. But I think there's a few potential showstoppers in Japan, isn't there? There's one which is like, you're a foreigner, it's going to be difficult,
Yeah, I think there's help with that. If you get the right legal team to sort things out for you,
right,
it helps there with that.
Yeah. And I suppose the legal aspect, you can't borrow money on the same terms that you would if you were Japanese, right?
Unless you got the permanent visa.
Right. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Right.
I went to the bank and they...
Did you?
Yeah. I've got it, yeah.
Did you go to the bank manager with a tie?
No, I went on a Sunday and it was
cool.
Pretty low key, yeah. It wasn't over,
All right.
Yeah.
All right, cool, fair enough. I stand corrected, so there you go. You live in there.
But no, yeah, without the visa, it's you're not in the human race, not in the Japanese race. You don't exist here, kind of thing.
Right. So that's the 5-year visa, right?
Yeah.
But so for me, the reason why I'm here in Fukuoka is because even as a cash buyer, I think it's
BGM, it's lovely.
Yeah, it's like being in the supermarket. Even as a cash buyer, I think it's pretty cool. Like, those. I mean, if you put $60,000 into the bank or into a property, the yield on the property is much better than you get on the bank.
Oh yeah, thanks.
And the growth on that property, Japanese property market has a strange relationship with property values, doesn't it? It doesn't go up as necessity like in other countries, right?
Yes.
Often it goes down, right?
Oh yeah.
So. But I think Fukuoka is probably a market that will go up over time, even if it's in single digit.
Even hopefully holds, yeah.
Yeah,
that might be enough, kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly. So that's why I'm here, and I met up with Tom the last time last year, wasn't it?
September, October, kind of time.
Yeah, because you're in the Lazy Money Machine group, but also there's a shared interest in the kind of things that we do business wise and property wise as well. So. Yeah, we're going to have a chat about Fukuoka.
Taxation is my biggest worry with buying property in Japan. I've been doing numbers, and taxation is it's my biggest worry about. You have asset value tax. This one every year you got to pay that 1 to 1.5% of your house value, and it's just cuts into your.
So that's like a flat rate tax. So if you had a $100,000 property in Japan, no matter what you did with it. Or what price you bought it at?
Yeah,
you have to pay 1%.
1.5. And they don't tell that number until you buy it.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's 1.5% flat rate tax. That's a wealth tax, effectively, is an asset tax, right? That's to be filed every year.
Yeah.
Okay. But what about the other taxation in comparison?
There are a few different kinds of tax. And if you buy it with a company structure, there are 6 kinds of tax.
6 kinds of tax.
Yeah. I was looking at the other day. I can't remember all the ins and outs, but I've been learning this stuff.
Right.
It's tough going, yeah.
So in other countries, I mean, like the UK as an example, so you have experiences. I have experience in the UK. In the UK, for example, it's far better to buy individual properties as an individual, right? Because there's up until very recently, there was a lot of benefit in doing it, like the personal tax allowance and the interest rate relief and so on. But that's kind of changing. But here in Japan, is it the same? Is it still sort of more preferable to do it as an individual or in the company? Because 6 taxes to pay as a company.
And the other thing is your company filings, annual filings with the company is 80,000 yen.
Right.
So it's like $8,000 maybe or something.
80,000 yen is $8,000.
That's your tax filing every year, whether you make money or not.
Right. What is that? The accountant's cost or the filing fee?
Filing fee for your company.
Wow.
Every year. So
it's a lot of money. 80,000. It's $800, right?
Is it? Oh yeah.
$800. Yeah. Still $1,000.
Yeah.
So it's $1,000.
So these numbers,
Right.
Almost, yeah.
Right. So you've got to pay $1,000 like as a filing fee.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world, but it's just.
Okay. So. What about your property? Do you have property here in Japan? Do you have property here back in the UK?
So in England, I have a 3-bed terrace, which I used to live in before I came to Japan. I did actually try to sell it, but it was right at the bottom of the market and no one wanted it. I basically just cut my ties when leaving England. But luckily, no one bought it, so I ended up renting it and keeping hold of it. And that's taken over. I've got it currently vacant. I've just been getting all renovated and done up, so ready for a new tenant. Okay,
so you've got a rental property in the UK, and in Japan?
In Japan, my family owns a block of flats in Hiroshima.
Right.
So that's in the family. They've had that for about 40 odd years. The building, yeah. So basically, none of them have been interested in it. So since I've been living there, I've been doing all the DIY, and then got us into Airbnb. So I've done up four apartments there in the studio as well.
How many units is in there?
So there's 8, and then we've got the family flat. So we have half. They're like three Airbnb ones and 3 long-term tenants. I have a flat, and the brother-in-law has a flat.
Okay. So I don't know how it works in Japan. Do they have like freeholds, leaseholds? Is it a similar kind of structure? Do you have
land?
They own
the land, yeah. They have to pay the land taxation. That's another one.
Right. But they own the whole building.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. So going forward, which sort of is it any of those you'd like to do more of, or you think about doing something else in property?
Well, like for Airbnb, in Japan, they're making up the laws as they're going along, and for now it's difficult and unpredictable, difficult to calculate. So I'd wait before going into that really. In June this year, it's supposed to roll out and things will start happening officially. So yeah, I'm wondering about whether to buy personally. I've just been running numbers and also running numbers for setting up a company and preparing bank applications. So far, it's been minus numbers on calculations. And it's like
when you say buy it personally, you mean in Japan?
Yeah, in Japan, yeah. I'm thinking about England too. Yeah,
right.
That's it.
So you got options to buy in the UK and buy in Japan. Okay, and which on your, without going into the numbers, which on your numbers is better at this stage?
England's probably easy to do,
right?
Because I've got equity in my house there. The lending's approved, and I understand everything. I can do things directly and get on with it. Here, I need help. I get things. Everything's Japanese, you really need to have good understanding of the tax system here to do well, I think, and that's my biggest concern. Is that I'm been learning this. So, England sounds good for the short term sooner. Right. I'm working on Japan, but yeah.
So if you bought in England, what kind of property would you buy?
3-bed terrace.
Same here.
Yeah, in Manchester area.
Yeah.
So my local, I've got family there, and I go home, so it's easy to check up and do the work.
So 3-bed terrace is like my favourite type of property.
Exactly, yeah.
And, I think it's my favourite because it's often the least glamorous. It's the least sexy property of them all, right? I mean, it doesn't have like the marketing suite with all, the little sort of like people and, the sort of the ideal lifestyle.
And the piss-stained carpets.
There's a lot of piss-stained carpets. That's a good one. So the 3-bed terrace as well, but you can convert. You can do. It could be a family home.
Yeah.
It could be professional sharers because you could deck out. You can completely refurb a 3-bed terrace for professionals, right? Right. You could even have students in there if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So there's lots of options with 3-bed terraces, and I think they kind of are at the rental versus the value. So not necessarily the yield so much, but like they're sort of at the top range of that rental to that low range of value. So they're quite a good match. I mean, there are high yield properties, but there are a lot of work. I mean, like for example, student HMOs and so on.
Yeah.
But I think those 3-bed terraces, like for the effort, they're like the easiest properties to get into.
Definitely, if you look at 2 beds, the price is not that far off in a lot of cases. So that the bit more, the difference in price and income is not really worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
What sort of price would you pay for a 3-bed in the UK?
I'm looking maybe 120,000 pounds. Right. Yeah.
And what would you be able to rent that for?
Maybe top end 700, between 6 and 700.
Right. Yeah. So about 6 or 7% yield or something on that. Or... Yeah, it's about. Right.
Yeah. Numbers one, go for it.
Well, it's only. Come on, it's not difficult. So
rhythms, I can calculate rhythms.
Yeah, do it 4/4. Yeah. So 120 grand. What would you get? Do you have an idea of the kind of tenant you'd want in there?
Families, yeah. A couple who are expecting kids, working on kids, kind of thing. Yeah. Working people,
right?
Yeah.
Because some people we've talked about this before in some of our podcasts, the welfare, the students.
I don't want people who are in the house all the time,
right?
Because it just all the use of the house.
Right.
People who are out working, they use the place. It's still like it. Yeah.
So if you were to buy that, would you, in terms of the decorations on, do you have an idea of how it would look? Would it be like high-end stuff or quite basic? Or
I was thinking about this because if I don't have much cash, I'll be looking for somewhere that's in better nick and having to do less with it. But if I've got cash, I've got some time, then I don't mind doing the work. But yeah, like spick and span, very clean and
functional.
Yeah, functional and modern. Yeah.
So how are you going to do that when you're living in Japan and you're pretty busy?
Yeah,
it's got like 2 businesses on the go officially.
Yeah.
So how are you going to do all that whilst you're? I mean, the real issue is not necessarily the distance, but the time zones, isn't it? It's like you can't sort of get on the phone when you need to deal with something.
I do. I'm always up late in England, phoning England a lot.
Right.
I've got a brother who's local, so he's helping me. He's handy, so he does work, and then he's been getting contractors in to do the work.
Okay.
I used an agent before, and a big problem, and got no trust for them after that. Just ruined everything.
What was the problem?
They're in a rush to rent it. They want the cheapest price, and then they'll let anybody in. Oh, someone wants it. Okay, let them in.
It's bullshit, isn't it?
And then we end up with the one by tenant, and they didn't pay any bills. The bailiffs come, and then they ended up taking everything that was in the house. Bailiffs came, and then they installed smart meters, and it was a real pain.
Yeah,
and rent was missing, and I had to put the what's that? Is it 21?
Section 21.
Section 21 to get them booted out. Yeah, it was
horrible.
Time and money and mess, and and then also trying to talk to them, they just wouldn't give me a good answer.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I was just checking on live. Keep going.
We're rocking.
What you're talking about is really interesting because I've had experience. I've never had a tenant I've had to evict, but I think this is something that people don't really know a lot about until it happens. Is that agents can be complete wankers.
Yeah.
They can be. I mean, and the landlords, the thing is, you entrust them to look after your property and they give you this bullshit. Like, I've had situations and I've learned the hard way where somebody said, we've got this, it's like, I've got a single woman and she's a professional. She doesn't pass all the credit checks, but she's good. And I was like, okay, fine. Put her in.
Right.
Nightmare. Similar situation, but it was resolved, but it was a real headache. And then I had another one who, very similar situation is, I've got this Chinese couple, students, don't pass all the credit checks, but they're willing to pay 6 months up front. And that's a danger sign, right? Because those people there's a reason credit checks, they're a guide. They're not the complete picture of that person, right? And especially if they're from abroad. But, when people start paying a lot up front as well, it's a bit of a warning sign because those can produce some nightmare scenarios, just from my experience, right? One of them being, I have a good friend who rents properties in Manchester, and he got approached by an agent came to him and said, I've got somebody who wants to rent you a property, a 3-bedroom terrace. He's a Vietnamese guy, and he wants to pay 6 months or 12 months up front. He said, fine, I'll take the cash. He's a bit desperate for the tenant, took the cash. 6 months, doesn't hear from the guy, obviously, because he's paid all his stuff up front. And then the police raided the property.
Growing some agricultural, obviously,
cannabis farm.
Yeah, I happened to a mate of mine.
It happens.
In Massachusetts,
right.
In his cellar, and the idiot, the guy who did it, he wired the electric to the main thing.
Right. Yeah. That's how they got caught.
They didn't pay the rent, and then he got busted. It was just stupid.
Right. So there's this kind of warning signs. I think it's like, you might not get a cannabis factory in your house, and they cut huge holes in the house, like for ventilation.
Right.
They drilled through the walls, they cut brickwork out, and they rewired all the electric. So these guys knew what they were doing. But I think the point was just that, you know, it may be tempting to take money up front or take a tenant who, you know, maybe is keen to get in but fails a check. But it's a warning sign, isn't it? If it goes wrong, you've only got yourself to blame for that situation. And I think it's hard, isn't it? Because especially if you've had a property on the market for some time and it hasn't rented, and then somebody comes along, I've got this sort of crappy tenant.
Desperate, and take the money, you sooner the better.
Yeah, it's often better not to take anything and just reassess. You know, even to spend like £1,000 painting the hallway or whatever, just a lick of paint, because that money would be lost in a bad deal. But I don't think it's just the money that's lost, but it's also the headache, isn't it? I mean, I can't imagine what that was like, having to Section 21 to evict a tenant, right?
Pain. Totally, pain in the ass. Yeah.
You lose any sleep over it?
It bothered me. Yeah, it was a hassle.
Right.
Just a hassle. What was a hassle?
Did you have to go to court? Because I know some landlords have to.
Talk to the agent. Yes, they sort that.
Right. Did the agent go to court for you?
I don't know.
Right. Because you have to pay them for that, right? So.
Oh yeah, exactly. There's all these things they end up having to do. All these percentages plus all the charges just get piled up. It's just like all the money gone. Yeah. So
after that experience, what did you learn?
That I can do a better job than myself. And my brother's a big help.
Right.
He and I have a lot of friends who do things. Just calling on them and getting recommendations and people who actually recommend things. And then I use OpenRent, a website platform in the UK to get tenants, and you can do all the credit checks and contract stuff and all through there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not managing an agent yourself now?
No.
Because that can be a real pain, isn't it?
But I do have to deal with a tenant.
Right.
I mean, that's so far been okay. My last tenant was good.
How do you deal with that when you're here in Japan and your tenants?
Just an email. I mean, I'm online all the time. So
they know you're here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not phoning you at 3 a.m. and saying,
I don't think they know my phone number.
Okay. So you don't give it to them, right?
No, I give it to my brother, though. My brother's local. If there's an emergency, he's 10 minutes, 5 minutes down the road. Yeah, very close.
Okay. And that works?
Yeah.
Do you need a special type of tenant to make that work?
Yeah, that's interesting. Someone a bit easygoing helped.
Right.
When I had two, both at the same time last time, and the other guy was really pushy and like, we want to come on this side, and really, he's ex-military, and he's just really aggro, like just not in a bad way, just really forward, like now, push, and it's just like, whoa, I can see you're going to be a pain in the backside, so no thanks. I'll choose the other last,
Yeah. I've had, I think the key is as well, getting good tenants is really important. And not just tenants who can pay, but there's a type of tenant who, I think they might be a bit younger, who kind of needs everything, a bit needy.
And
I had tenants who would call the agent, and they just moved in to the apartment, and it's a one-bedroom. This one's a one-bedroom apartment in Battersea in London, so it's a really nice area, a really nice apartment, access to restaurants and shops in Lavender Hill area, really, really nice. And so they're not sort of bottom end tenants, right? Moved into the place, paid all the money up front, moved in, and phoned the tenant and said, I need a light bulb in the hallway. I'm just okay. What would I do in that situation? Would I call the agent and ask the agent to fix it? Or would I say, okay, right, well, Tesco's is just down the road, I'll get a light bulb.
I'll book a flight and I'll be over here.
Right, exactly. So there is a type of tenant as well that can be quite needy and sort of suck your time, isn't it? Yeah. Are you sort of aware of that? It sounds like you've got a guy, or you've got people in there now who are pretty good.
My last tenant was, pretty chilled out and no hassle. I've yet to find a new tenant. It's, I'll be thinking about it. Yeah.
So I tend to find, this is, shoot me down for saying this, right? But I tend to find that my best tenants are single men.
Right. They're clean, yeah.
I don't know why. Like, the worst tenants I had are couples, because couples sometimes split up.
Right.
And then it's like a real mess.
Yeah.
But single men, I don't know why. And, they just tend to fix stuff.
Right.
So that property I talked about where the tenant wanted the light bulb, the tenant in before that person was in there 3 years. And for example, there was a problem with the bathroom and there was leaking on the grout, like the filler. So on the tiles, it was leaking. Right. And normally, even some normal tenant would phone the agent and say, hey, there's a problem, can you send somebody around? And that's, that's a few $100, isn't it? It's a few $100, right? But he was like, okay, I got some grout from Homebase, B&Q, and I fixed it. Yeah. And it's like, I'm like, brilliant.
You are the tenant,
yeah, awesome. And there was lots of things like that, because properties always have problems, right? You never, even the newest properties have problems. And he would fix this stuff, like just small things, right? There was like a bit of plastic came off the kitchen counter or something, and he just replaced it, right? And when it came to renewal, I think this property rented for about £1,200, so like $1,800 a month. It's a one bed. It's quite high, but that's London, right? So when it came to renewal, the agent was saying, let's push for a 5% increase. So that would be £180 right? But the tenant said, I can't afford that, right? Can I keep the rent the same? And I said, fine.
Just it was worth it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, like for £180 over the year, less the agent fees as well. So £150. Beautiful. He would look after the place, fix stuff, and save me a lot of money. So I think the point is that talking about tenants is that you may take a tenant who pays less, but ultimately they're more profitable. Yeah, because I think you've got to look at the profitability of the tenant, like time and all those kind of things.
And with an agent, you don't even have that relationship. Often it's one step removed. You only deal with the agent, and they're dealing with them all the time. Right. So you don't really get an idea of what they like and any kind of relationship. It depends which way you like it. If you've got a big portfolio, I'm guessing you don't really want to know.
Right.
But at the moment, it's okay. Yeah.
Are you prefer it like that? Do you prefer dealing with the tenants yourself?
Yeah, I don't mind it. Yeah.
And you find they're reasonable?
Yeah. The ones I've dealt with myself, the last couple. After the agent, pre-agent?
Right.
No, the ones with the agent were worse.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But the fact that you can build a relationship with them as well, is that something? Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So like when I go home there, I go pop in and check over and do some work and have a chat,
I just noted there's a question here. I'm going to answer this question for Eric. Have a look at this. I have a weed smoking single man as a tenant who has a big problem. What do you think? Should you give him some advice?
What to do?
Well, you're from Holland. You're from the Netherlands.
Depends what the problem is.
Yeah, what was the problem? We're interested in that. If he's built a cannabis factory.
Yeah, everything like that. But if he's just smoking there,
I don't think smoking is a problem, is it? The problem is
particularly unless you bother about your yellow
right
wallpaper, the smell and all that kind of thing. But
you can't say to people. You can say to people, don't smoke in the apartment, can't you?
Obviously. Yeah, it's not smoking. Yeah,
that's one thing.
If it's in your terms, then that's a reason to kick him out.
But you can't. If it's smoking, you can't say. You're not allowed to smoke weed.
Well, you can, but
anything illegal. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it, to enforce that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think as well, you're smoking weed and the other. Yeah, exactly. The other tenants are pissed. They're angry. Yeah, that's a problem because that can cause a problem because you've got to keep the people. Is it the other tenants in the property of yours, or are they other apartments which you don't rent? Because that's kind of important, isn't it? If they're yours, then that's even more of a problem, right? Because they're your customers, right? We need to get him out, and he's 2 months in arrears. Dangerous.
There you go.
I've never been in this situation. You have.
Straight away. As soon as
no messing around.
As soon as the rent was not paid, out.
What would you do? Section 21?
Straight away.
Evict?
Same day.
Yeah, no messing around.
No rent. See that.
Right. Yeah. So that's one way of doing it. The other way, which I've heard some landlords do, which makes sense but it's counterintuitive, is they pay the tenant to leave. So I've seen this, and I can understand why they do it. They say to the tenant, right, okay, you owe me 2 months' rent. That's £1,000 or whatever. Look, here's a couple £100, get out. I want you to get your stuff and get out.
Yeah.
And that works in some cases, because if that tenant's going to be really difficult, there's some tenants, you didn't have this situation, it sounds, but there's some tenants who know how to play the game. You take them to court.
The paper chase and all the rest of it.
I think if you do a Section 21, they can pay a small amount or offer to pay, can't they? I'm not sure.
Unless the repayment schedule or something that will take until they retired to get it paid off. Yeah,
exactly. Because the law will always favour the tenant. Unfortunately. So sometimes that approach of like, here's the money, get out, sling your hook, get out, that works, right? Because you've lost money, but you've cut your losses, haven't you?
Yeah, I think for me, the sooner the better. I think it all gets worse with that kind of thing. Right. Yeah.
So you did a Section 21. Was that an easy experience doing all that?
With an agent, yeah. Okay. Or with myself, that would be much fun.
Serving notice was expensive last time, it cost us thousands of pounds. This time we didn't pay anything to bug off. There you go. It's not intuitive, isn't it? It's not sort of what you think you should do.
Yeah.
But I know landlords that do that, because at the end of the day, thousands of pounds.
That's right. Time.
Hassle, yeah. As long as you agree with them and get out. I think some people as well, they'll take it.
Oh yeah,
because those kind of people need the cash, don't they? They've got, you've got to pay his dealer. And, I don't know. But I think the problem is caused when you get the tenant in, not afterwards, isn't it? That's the problem, isn't it, with that sort of property? It's not, they've gone through some red lights earlier on.
Yeah.
But it's not all bad in the world of property, is it?
No, it's not. I have a question for you actually, which is, can you tell us a bit about the timeline for your building your portfolio? When did you think, I'll start doing this? And have you stopped now in England? Since you left England, living in England, was that when you stopped buying? Tell us a bit about that, please. I'm wondering.
Okay, so I bought my first ever property was the apartment we lived in, so in the late 90s, and then after living there for 3 years, we decided to move out in the early 2000s, and then rather than sell, what everybody was doing was sell their property and then buy a new one. I thought I'd keep that one and start renting, because I wanted to build a rental portfolio.
Yeah.
So I started in the rental game 2000, 2001, and then we had the family home and just kept buying single bedroom apartments over a period of five up until about 2005, 2006.
All in London?
No, not all in London. I had bought one HMO in the south, in Portsmouth, which was it wasn't an HMO originally. It was a 6-bedroom house. Originally a 5-bedroom house, but we made it 6. Yeah. Converted it into an HMO for students. I bought 2 more not HMOs, but they were 3 beds. And got rid of 2 of them, because I bought them, got rid of them. That was a really bad move, because they were HMOs converted into 4 beds, but they had to be HMO because that was the requirement. It changes council by council. And got rid of those. So what I did is I built a property, scaled it back, and then as I stand now, 4 properties in the UK. And that's enough for me, because I don't want to, my situation is that I feel now in the UK that the window is shut for private investors, individuals, and I've got enough exposure. Property in the UK is really good, but I wouldn't suggest having any more exposure in the UK than I have, So my timeline is in total, 18 years, 17 years in property. And obviously the values have gone up quite a lot. But I would say this, the one thing that I have learned over those years is that in the first 4 or 5 years of having property, I was constantly checking property prices and thinking, this one's not going up like I want, and why isn't this one making profit? And I constantly, every day hawking my properties. And then when I stopped doing that and just kind of left them, I thought, fuck it, just let them.
These things cash flow instead.
Yeah, I just left them and let them self-manage with agents, and then everything worked out. It was what was the point? Because I think I was under a lot of pressure then to sell properties because there were better ones, because in the early 2000s, property prices were going up a lot. I didn't have properties in like the hotspots, so where they would go up 20% a year. So I had a property that would go up like 6 or 7%. So I was thinking, I've got to sell that one because I could buy this one.
Yeah.
So I think there's always a danger when you're growing a property portfolio of constantly, looking at the whole market, look at what other people are doing, and that fear of missing out.
Especially in London, it's when it is hot, it's so hot. It's like booming the prices, and everyone wants to invest. Yeah.
That time as well. So these properties about 20-25% a year. You could buy anything, and it would appreciate in value.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I've been in 17 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So and I've done all different kinds of properties as well. I mean, I've bought properties, sold properties, but I've kept probably my 4 best ones, and I've bought HMOs. I mean, Eric does HMOs.
Yeah.
Nightmare. I don't want to do them. I've got one because it's just okay. It's good. It's really good cash flow, but I wouldn't ever buy another one. And I bought 3 at the time because everybody was kind of getting into it at the time. And I bought at auction, and I've done all that. So I've never done commercial though. That was, I suppose, my one great. I did have an option to buy commercial, but it just didn't happen because the business partner I was with at the time, he just kind of said, I don't want to just want to buy a private property, which is fine.
Yeah.
So because we were going to buy an office for ourselves and then rent it back to ourselves, which is kind of like how you build a pension. A lot of people were doing that.
Speaking of which, can I ask you I've got a few questions ready? Is that all right? I'll
go for it. Yeah.
But one question I had was, did you consciously decide, I'm going to retire at 40? And if you did, when was that?
No, I didn't.
No. Goal. No. Yeah.
I
mean, your definition of, that's how you do it, your definition of retirement.
Not having to work.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. It just sort of, I realised it was upon me. Originally, my first ever goal was, I think I was in the mid-20s, and I said, I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. And it was sort of, in the late 90s, .com days. So it's quite possible, right? And then it didn't happen by the time I was 30. And it sort of passed.
Yeah.
And I thought, what was that? I felt like a failure. And I had a very successful telecoms business after that, which made a lot of cash flow.
Yeah.
But all my money was made out of property because everything that I'd made in that that lifestyle business, so to speak, creating cash flow, I put into a property business. And I think if I just committed everything to the telecoms business I had, I wouldn't have been in that situation where I was by 40, where I thought, okay, right, if nothing ever happened now, I could effectively live like this for the rest of my life, right?
And how have you chosen? You must have had opportunities to invest in businesses or in property and stuff thinking, okay, I've got too much on, don't want more, but how have you decided when, I'm missing the boat, it's a great opportunity, it's now or never, I just can't cope with it, I don't have the money, how's that deciding factor been for you, over the years with property and business? Property and business,
I think property's never been a business, like a full-time business for me. I think that's the key, never to make it one either.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's interesting. I mean, it's great because it allows you to have that lifestyle, right? But it never.
Unless you're into it, like Eric does the developer totally. Who does flip it, redoes them up and.
But that's like an active thing. Isn't it? That's quite interesting. Yeah. Like flipping a property, it's a bit like trading, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite active.
But just holding it as a
it's like it's not interesting. It's just a thing, isn't it? And it's like. Yeah, okay, it just happens and it produces income and that's cool. And the agent contacts me once in a while, like the other day, the agent contacted me and they wanted a new washing machine. But I never sort of wake up in the morning thinking, yes.
Okay. So interaction.
What washing machine are we going to buy today? So, the answer to your question in terms of the property side, it was always make that something that could work in the background on its own. And then find something that I'm really passionate about in the daytime.
Yeah.
So like this, I really enjoy this. Meeting people like you, like in this, this club, this group that we have. I just really enjoy that, right? It doesn't have to be something that produces a lot of money. It's not going to be something I can retire with, But it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Because I've already got that fixed. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question about how you decide.
Yeah. I spoke to a financial advisor about 5 years ago, and it's like, when do you want to retire, Tom? I goes, 40. And he goes, you're off your head? I goes, I know, that's why you're not the guy for me. See ya. And that was that.
That was the end of that relationship.
No, you didn't get it. Like, if you can't think in some way to make crazy money, then you're not the guy to work with. Yeah.
What was he trying to sell you?
It was a nice balanced portfolio for expats with all his tax benefits.
Was he based here or is he based
in Tokyo? And I goes, do you invest in it? He's like, no. I'm like, yeah, you see. See you later. And I asked him what he was thinking about metal, and he was just like, he thought it was, a doomer, silver or whatever, what are you talking about? It's like, no.
So he was just trying to sell you products?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's funny.
That's interesting. I mean, I was a financial advisor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I remember that, we're talking about Tom and his property portfolio. Okay, yeah, we'll come to that in a minute. But as a financial advisor, I was on commission, so my goal was to sell
products,
and sell products, and that's how we made our money.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter if it makes you rich.
Thing for them,
That's money in my pocket, right?
Yeah.
So I got out of that game, but it was a great education.
Yeah.
But I think we have to realise that's what financial advisors are
there for. Yeah.
And if you look at the financial industry as well, I mean, you look at how many class action lawsuits have been filed against financial companies and banks in the last year, it's just insane. Yeah. The numbers we don't really know, do we? Because they're never sort of published. But these guys have not got our interest at heart.
No, exactly.
Eric asks, how far are you with your property portfolio? How far?
I'm not very far. I've got one in England. That's it.
Right. And he manages one, right?
And I manage a building, yeah. So, I'm looking at both. I'm looking at England. I'm going there in March.
Yeah.
So I've got mortgages lending approved from a lender, and I've looked into setting up a company with which to buy it in England. So that's the plan. My big concern is with banking. I had real problems with getting banking in England because I'm non-resident. So that's my biggest problem. If I can,
you can't get a bank account or company bank.
Company bank accounts are difficult. Yeah.
So you can get a mortgage.
Yeah, I can get the mortgage. Okay.
As a company or as an individual?
Both. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you're non-resident.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. They were like, "Oh, come on, let's go," kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, that lender. I spoke to that lender. I mean, you can share that in the group of people if they private message you. But that lender, I spoke to them, and I don't know how they pre-approved you, but they asked me for like all kinds of documentation. Right. Maybe I was just the wrong guy, or I didn't have the secret handshake.
I don't know what it is. Maybe they're like the day job man, or that's what it is.
Yeah, well, no, you've got a day job. That's it. I'm
random for day job. Yeah.
So the issue is not having a bank account in the UK, a corporate bank account.
That's a problem. I had a problem because I own a UK company, and that was my big nightmare. I couldn't get banking. I had to get my brother signed up as a director of the company,
right?
So that we can bank together now. But
can't he do it for you again?
Yeah, he would do. Yeah, I can do that. But it's just.
See, when I went back to the UK last year, I wasn't there long. I went to Barclays and I applied online. £6. I set up a company and got a bank account with Barclays. Next week in UK, I got an interview with the Barclays bank manager. Usual bullshit. Yeah. It's like, what do you want this company for? Just collect payments for my rent. Yeah, and what's your future growth plans? Just keep collecting payments. She had all those sort of things. You just got to make sure you just say all through the check boxes.
Yeah.
But I had a bank account opened in a week.
Right.
But
we used the UK address for that though.
Yeah, but I wasn't resident.
But they didn't tell them that though. Yeah.
I didn't say I wasn't resident.
Exactly.
But I had a. Have you got a bank statement in the UK? Or
no. Oh no, I don't.
Is there nothing in the UK with your?
I've got a driving license still. I use it.
You need like a bill, a utility bill. Something. But you can ask your brother to put your name on the bill, right?
I could, get clever, yeah. Put something on.
Engineer it.
Right.
Yeah.
Council tax.
But then you have to pay it.
Hey, council tax.
Yeah, I'm not registered in council tax in the UK, but I've got a bank account, corporate bank account in the UK.
No, I want the personal ones, no corporate. Oh, I live corporate now, yeah. After much hassle, yeah.
Right. See, my situation and your situation are the same. We're both non-resident.
Yeah.
We're both resident in Japan. We both don't pay council tax or are registered on the electoral roll in the UK rate, but I managed to set up a company bank account in the UK. So maybe it's possible, but maybe you need some paperwork.
Yeah.
So maybe it can be engineered.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, to do it legitimately, that's fine.
Totally. Yeah.
Absolutely legitimate, that's fine.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, Eric, you're just starting, right?
I think there were some more questions for you. Let's see what else we've got.
We've got 5 minutes. He's just checking his questions. What else you got?
Oh, yeah, my question was, tell us about the business that failed and what lessons you learned. Yeah, the business that failed that you mentioned sometime. I can't remember when, but...
Right, there's a few of those.
Oh, is it too long?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
Business that... Tell you about a business that failed, right?
Maybe the lessons you learned. That's what I'm looking for.
No, what have I learned from failed businesses? I think, here's the thing, is that simply being passionate about something and working hard is not enough.
Yeah.
That's the big mistake. I think, when you start a business, you read all these stories about Richard Branson or like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and they were like really passionate about, they were just like so into this thing that they were doing, and they just worked like non-stop doing this thing. That was how they became successful. Mm-hmm. So I kind of mistakenly thought, you just got to be passionate about something and never give up.
Right.
No. Not the answer. I think that was the big failure that I had. The first business I ever started was a web design business in 1998, and that failed. Have
you always done one main business and focused on that, maybe with property on the side? Have you had business and a side business, or your job and business? How have you done with?
I've always, since 1998, I've always had one business.
Yeah.
Property business accepted, right? So that's on the side. So I've always had one business. My main thing to create cash flow.
Yeah,
that's always been the thing. Property was an investment business, but that's not really not a job. Yeah, not a job. So I've always had one business, and then only recently I've been involved in multiple businesses in the last sort of 3 or 4 years, which I think suits me.
Yeah.
Like this is one business. I have the podcast business, so to have 2 businesses on the go, I think suits me perfectly.
Yeah.
Because, you can treat them differently as well. You can sort of let them grow at their own speed.
Who's not too involved.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it's more of an investor's mindset, isn't it? It's you understand things like we're talking about with the houses, they grow at their own speed, right?
Yeah.
And businesses do as well. If you just got one business, you have to make it work, right? But if there's a few projects, maybe this one's working right now, this one's a bit slow, you can kind of focus on that one and leave that one a little bit,
Yeah. Right.
That answers your question.
Yeah. Got one more?
Oh, you got one more?
Yeah, I do.
I was going to be asking you questions.
No,
let's go.
Do you have any experience or interest in agricultural? Talk about cash flow and investments. Agriculture at all? Yeah.
Never invested. But I do. You know what? There's a big thing about around about the time of the crash, just after 2008. So I will say 4 or 5 years ago, but I realised it's a long time, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of people say buy agricultural land.
Yeah.
Because of the yields, and buy yourself a farm in Chile.
Yeah. Chocolate, coffee, tea.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Oh, I've read quite a bit. Been very interested in it. I've been talking to some farmers in Ghana actually, and I've offered to help them get their promotional stuff ready for investing.
What do they farm?
Iboga. It's a psychotropic plant.
Oh, Iboga. Oh, isn't that like the hallucinogen?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Is that legit?
Yeah, totally legit. Over there, yeah. I mean, you couldn't import it into Japan, but you could in Europe, some countries. Yeah. I mean, it's to beat addiction, and
there's a lot of studies about that.
Yeah, it's supposed to.
Do you watch Joe Rogan's podcast? You listen to that?
No.
He talks a lot about it.
Right.
Iboga.
Right.
What was it? Yeah, whatever.
The one in South America, they have another version, don't they?
Ayahuasca?
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Is that what it is? Is that what it's saying?
No, it's a similar kind of thing, Yeah.
But
going deep.
So what are you talking to these guys about? Actually helping them or buying?
Well, they're actually doing it now. They're farming it. They're doing it. They're
Right.
making this farm. I just came across it. I was looking at stuff in Ghana. I went there and had an interest in Ghana. So.
You went to Ghana?
Yeah.
So to check this out?
No. To
you've been there before.
And music
and
stuff.
Yeah.
And but yeah, they were looking for investors for buying trees. And it was a really shoddy website. And I said, "Oh, the idea's really good, but I think I could help you make this look a little bit better." Kind of thing. So, yeah. So I thought, okay, I've been a bit busy to do it, but plan to help them out. Yeah.
What do you want to do in the future? Would you want to do more of that?
Oh no, that's your risk, your top of your pyramid risk stuff. That's just a bit of an interest.
Right.
I don't really want to have a lot of money. It's just something a bit curious about. Really high returns and like a bit of a niche thing, but crazy. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting as well, isn't it? Because I think for you, it's a big learning experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
To go and do something. If you're involved with people like that, you'd learn something completely new.
Because they're just focused on farming and like the marketing of it and the investment type of understanding, breaking the deal down. They're not very sharp.
Right.
So I was like looking at the way they're structuring it and like, okay, I think I can make this look a bit better for other people who want to invest.
Well, that's the actual deal
as well. Yeah. The whole thinking of it.
So what were they selling? They were selling trees or investing?
You buy trees. You can buy trees, and then it's like a commitment over I think it's about 5 years till it yields, and they guarantee such an amount for the weight kind of thing. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
That's pretty awesome. Would you do more of that, like in Japan or?
To be honest, I see big opportunities with rice over here because all the farmers' average age are like 70, 80 years old.
Yeah.
And no one wants to do it.
It's a big problem, right?
Yeah. And I think that could be huge. Like, if you've got all these small rice fields and put them together, but anything with a sell by date, I don't really want to do with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And green tea too is also huge opportunity. Green tea.
Right. Because these are premium, like Japanese rice, Japanese green tea. I mean, you can make rice and tea anywhere in Asia, right? But these are premium.
Oh yeah, quality,
especially that Japanese rice
in this area.
Yeah, especially for the connoisseurs. I mean, China can produce 100 times as much, but they'll never produce that quality. Right?
Yeah.
So
I've been looking into this kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm interested in it. Yeah.
That goes back to the fundamentals, though. It doesn't. I mean, we're sort of running out of time, but that whole thing about farming. I mean, there's always going to be a need for food, isn't it? But there's increasingly less people who can make food because it's always, it's that generation's. Here in Japan's a real problem. They try to make it fashionable.
To be cool, to be farming. Yeah.
All the girls with like the colourful boots and stuff. But they go for a weekend farming, don't they? But it's not going to solve the problem, is it?
No.
So what happens then? All these older people die out.
Yeah. Who's
going to make the food, right? So.
Especially if they do trade deals and all the price, because it's government subsidised with all the rice farming. So if it has to, there's going to be big changes coming. Big changes coming. Yeah.
You heard it here first. Big changes coming. Jim Rogers. Do you know Jim Rogers?
Yeah.
One of the things, he comes up with a lot of sound bites, which are just so spot on. And he's such a smart guy. I mean, he was like the original investment biker. He was the guy that travelled around, Russia, before the fall of the wall. He went to China in like the 80s and looked for opportunities everywhere. He moved his family to Singapore in 2007 from the US, all these kind of things. But he said, in the future, there's going to be hundreds and, there's going to be thousands and thousands of MBAs and lawyers. Don't teach your kids to be an MBA or a lawyer, right? Teach your kids to be farmers or to, make something. To be a chef, because these are the people who are going to make the money, right? And I think farming, agricultural land is certainly. I don't know where to start though, with something like that, but it sounds like you've already got a head start.
I don't know if I can go through with it. I've been very interested in it though. Yeah, the fundamentals are interesting. Yeah, definitely.
All right, last question. I'm going to let you answer this one yourself as we wrap up.
Go on then.
This is from Eric. Besides music, there isn't anything besides music. What passions do you have?
Literally, seriously, until about 5 years ago, music was the only thing I thought about for my whole life, ever. But since then, it was freedom. Really understanding how to be free and understand how we're enslaved through the money system and taxation and society and all these things. So educating myself to do the best I can to get out of the system that we're trapped in is what I became passionate about. Yeah.
Are you seriously a doomsday prepper?
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean by that? Because I imagine like that.
I looked into weapons. Yeah, I looked into buying guns and all that stuff. The legalities of it. But yeah, bags of rice and water and metal and cash and planning and
shit hits the fan.
Yeah. Serious. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, on the financial side, what do you do about that? Do you buy gold?
I buy silver.
Silver.
Yeah.
So you use electronic. You still make mobile phones out of silver.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's the number 2 commodity in the world, isn't it?
Right.
After oil, so.
Well, it's like land in a way, because it's silver land. You can still use it, isn't it? Because we were talking about Bitcoin before, right? You can't use Bitcoin really for anything. You can use blockchain, but not Bitcoin, right? So if the whole world blows up, you still can use it.
In Japan, though, we've got all the earthquakes and all that's legit too, all the natural disaster, as well as the financial thing. So I'm serious. My family thought it was crazy when I started getting organised. They were like, have you joined a cult?
You can share some tips. All right, chaps, we've got to get out of here. We've been kicked out, right?
Yeah, time to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
for your participation. Comments in the comment box, wherever it is.
You've been listening to The Lazy Money Machine. Find out more at lazymoneymachine.com.